Hello, and welcome to today's video from Prevail Marketing, where we talk about tips, tricks, strategies, techniques, ideas, concepts on how to grow your business through sales and marketing. My name is Bill Arnold, and I'm here today to talk about something that I have used for the last, 25 years. The most important book I've ever found dealing with marketing and sales. Let me talk to you about it. Short time ago, I was asked by somebody who saw my library, who saw all the books I have about sales marketing that could rival the Library of Congress. Of all those books, if I had to buy just one of them, which one would you recommend? And they actually thought it might take me a long time to mull it over and think about it. And within 2 seconds, I had the answer. It's a book that I think every single individual, and I'm not even talking about people in marketing and sales, I'm talking about every single individual ought to purchase and ought to read. In fact, if I had $1 for every time I recommended this book, well, I'd be on the Riviera somewhere enjoying Mai Tais. So what is this book that I recommend? It's a book that was written actually in 1984. So it goes back about 60 some years, but it's the most powerful book on how to get people to do what you want them to do. It's a book written by Dr. Robert Cialdini in 1984 called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. Now, this book, when it originally was written, was meant to be for the pre-digital age. He made this book after years of study and evaluation because he was one of these people who always seemed to be saying yes when he really wanted to say no. And he really didn't understand why that was the case, why he always said yes. Well, so he had to do a comprehensive study, about 3 years, came up with some universal principles, some laws, if you will, that everybody, regardless of gender, regardless of religion, regardless of nationality, race, regardless, they all seem to follow these same rules. They all seem to abide by these same rules. And so we're going to talk about these rules. We're going to talk about the 7 rules that he has. Actually, I've called 7.5. And we're going to talk about a little bit about them, but I encourage you to go buy his book, Influence, Psychology, Persuasion. If you really like it, buy his second book, Persuasion. They're both valuable books on telling you how to get people to say yes. So whether you're talking about marketing, sales, or just want to win an argument, these techniques works. So let's talk about what I call the 7 laws of influence. I'm going to name them off right now. The law of reciprocity, the law of commitment and consistency, the law of social proof, the law of law of authority, the law of liking, the law of scarcity, and the law of unity. Let's talk a little bit about each of these, okay? What is the law of reciprocity? Well, it can be summed up by saying there's no such thing as a free lunch. If someone buys you a free lunch, they expect something for you. Maybe not now, but sometime in the future. And you're going to feel somewhat obligated because human nature says if someone does something nice for us, we want to pay them back. We want to help them. And it doesn't have to be, the obligation doesn't have to be solely reciprocal, that is equal. For example, if I sell you a $2, if I buy from you a $2 candy bar that you're selling for your kids' school, and I come back next week and ask you to buy a $25 raffle ticket, you're probably going to buy it. You may not initially, before I bought that $2 candy bar, but because I bought that candy bar, you feel obligated. You feel obligated to reciprocate. It really works. So how to weaponize, Will, if you can, this techniques? You're the first to give a gift, to give something that they're going to find personal in nature, something they're going to find worthwhile, something that's unexpected, not a birthday gift, not a Christmas gift, which are deemed to be obligatory, but something just totally out of the blue. And when you make that second request for whatever you want them to do, make sure it's not too far in the future that they forget about it. There's no time. It doesn't have to be immediate. It shouldn't be immediate. But sometime in the foreseeable future where it's still going to ring in their minds that, yeah, they did something nice for me. I need to reciprocate that. That is the law of reciprocation. What about the law of commitment and consistency? This law says that if once a person takes a course of action, they feel they have to continue on that course of action for a period of time to justify the action they just took. So when's the person most confident about any action they just took? Once they make a decision. Think about going to a car dealership. Once you buy that car, once you sign on that dotted line, you want to do this, they start saying, hey, you need undercoating, you need a warranty, you need this, you need that. Because they're asking that after you made that major commitment, because You want to justify, I made the right decision. I made the right call. I need to back it up. I need to do more. And Dr. Cialdini talked about how he proved this in his point. One of the studies he did, which talked about somebody wanted to put up billboards in a particular neighborhood. And so they basically asked first, and they got a resounding no. We don't want any billboards. That's good to face our community. We don't want that. So what he did is he basically asked people if they would put this placard in their window that talked about the cause that they wanted to do. Well, placard, yeah, that's pretty innocuous. Then they followed up with, how about a yard sign? Oh, well, yeah, okay. Now how about a billboard? Now they found that they got a 400% greater commitment to do that billboard because people wanted to be consistent with their prior actions. So let's talk about some tips, tricks, and strategies when to use this, how to use this. Make sure the follow-up request is close enough time and commitment that a person sees that tie-in. The original commitment cannot be coerced. If you coerce someone to do it, they're not going to feel their need to be consistent. They're going to rebel against it. So make sure, if the best way to do this, make sure it's a public commitment, or the commitment that's put in writing is even both of them. Think about it. When you go to a car dealership, they have you sign. Once you sign, you made a commitment in writing that you feel obligated to follow up on. So again, use the law of commitment and consistency when you get people to continue on with what they've done in the past. The law of social proof, my goodness, the law of social proof is so abundant out here. People, we're overwhelmed in this society. There's too much information. We're on a 24-hour news cycle, information hits constantly. Look at our phones, there's information. Look at this, there's information. So what do we do as a society? We need to take shortcuts. We can't analyze every decision. If I want to buy a computer, I can't possibly know that every feature and functionality of every computer I might want to look at. So I look at the experts. I look at people who have bought computers. And I say, what do you think? What have you found? What have you discovered? And I use that as trusted source of information. And that doesn't even have to be a friend. It could be someone totally you don't even know that you're going to trust and rely upon. How so? Think of Yelp. You go into a city you haven't been into before, nothing about the restaurants, and you go to Yelp to figure out the recommendations, what people prefer, why they didn't prefer this restaurant. Now, you don't know these people at all. You don't know the grudge they may have against these restaurants. You don't know their taste preferences, but you rely upon them to pick the restaurants you want to go to. The same thing works for B2B. If you think about it, there are all sorts of sites out there like Software Advice, G2 Crowd, Capterra, where third parties are giving you their recommendations about a particular piece of software. Again, you don't know their use cases. You don't know anything about them personally, but you rely upon their expertise to help you make decisions. That's how this works. So again, if I were doing this from a B2B standpoint, take advantage of these referral sites. They work. Take advantage of testimonials. They work. These things really provide the impetus for someone to make a decision, taking that shortcut. The law of liking. Now, we all want to do business with people we like, right? You don't want to do business with somebody you don't like. It's obvious on its face. But this really goes down to even more than just liking. It can do things like physical attractiveness, okay? It can go down to things like similarities, okay? They did a study basically that said romantic matches were the most predictable factor with similarities they tended to trust and rely upon. So when you look at people you do business with, you want to do business with people, you tend to do business with people you like. So how do you take advantage of this concept? Well, before you begin any sales presentation, before you get any negotiation, before you group any meeting, take some time to get to know them, to commiserate with them, to chat with them, to find out a little bit about their background. When you find there is connection, oh, I used to live in that state. Oh, I like that sports team. I've been to that city. Whatever the case may be, try to make those connections that show you have a similarity, that you're like them in nature, okay? Exchange personal information and find that area of commonality. And then you look to ways to compliment. People like when people compliment them. They like it. When I tell you it's genuine compliment, I say, hey, look, I really appreciate how well you wrote that blog. I mean, it was really good and it was worthwhile. I got a lot of value out of it. Wow. Really? Thank you. I like you. You liked what I did. So find a genuine way to compliment them. Next category, talk about the law of authority. Oh, we all grew up, respect authority, respect the police, respect the people in power, okay? Because that's the law of authority. So it could be policemen, it could be military, it could be doctors, it could be lawyers. We're taught from a very young age to respect them. And today, it really is not just back in the day, it was the title, doctor, lawyer. Now, and then it was the uniform you wear. Oh, I wore this white uniform, I'm a doctor, or I wore this uniform, I'm a police officer. Now we have authorities that don't wear any particular outfit, that don't have any particular title. Subject matter influencers, you find them in it all the time. And they have become experts. They become authorities in their field. Then we learn to trust. We learn to take advantage of them because their expertise, because they've proven they're trustworthy, because they have a broad reach of people they can connect with on our behalf. So when you want to take advantage of the law of authority, showcase your credentials. If you have a Juris Doctor, showcase that. If you have a PhD, showcase that. If you got an MBA, showcase that. Utilize social proof, okay? People tend to follow, again, social proof we talked about. Show people they have this expertise. Establish yourself as an expert. Write publication, write articles, write blogs, write ebooks, and provide credible sources, credible references. Okay. The law of scarcity. Yeah, the law of scarcity. You know what? As a society, we place a higher value of things that are scarce. Gold can be scarce. We place a higher value on it. Bitcoin can get scarce. We place a higher value on it. We place value on items that we think are less readily available. When water becomes scarce, it becomes more valuable. When food becomes scarce, it becomes more valuable. So that law is triggered by a number of different things. First off, FOMO, the fear of missing out. If those tickets are scarce to that particular game, I don't want to miss it. I'm going to pay more money for it to make sure I get them because I don't want to miss out. Perceived value, when things are scarce, they have higher value. Talk about gold, talk about water, talk about resources. Okay. When something becomes scarce, it immediately has more value. When there's competition for something it has more value. We're all competing for those tickets. Even if it has an abundance of those tickets, it becomes more valuable. So how do you use this in marketing sales? Create a sense of urgency in whatever you do in your marketing materials. Provide exclusive offers for a limited time. Okay. Highlight the fact they have limited stock. Okay. Time limited promotions. These are things you can do to create that sense of urgency that really will drive people to take action today. The law of unity. And I think right now, this is the most powerful law of all the laws. This was not in Cialdini's original publication. This is something added recently based on society as it has developed over the time. What is the law of unity? It's the tribal mentality that you see throughout this nation. It's us against them. We're right, you're wrong. We don't like you, we like us. Think about two examples, the controversial examples. COVID-19 vaccines, two camps. They help, they save lives, we love it. My goodness, they're killing us. They hid for us. The pharmaceutical companies just did it to make money. Two camps, us against them. Talk about the 2020 election. It was stolen. It wasn't legitimate. They took it from us. My goodness, it was fair. We have the one president. Two camps. The law of unity are those two camps. We want to do business. We will do business with people who are in our camp. I mean, that is one of the most powerful laws possible. So if you're going to use the law of unity, look for common ground. Look for keys that you are one of us and utilize it. Use in language that group appreciates, inclusive language of that group. Highlight shared goals. Those are things you can do to use these laws. And I'm going to tell you something. Every piece of content, every marketing strategy, everything that Prevail Marketing does, bar none, before it goes out, before we approve, before we share with the client, we ask one question. Which of the laws are you using to get this campaign productive? Finally, one more law I'm going to talk about. This is not a law. Excuse me, I got to plug my computer in. I forgot to do that, and it's about to die. One more law that I want to talk about that really has it's not a law that Cialdini had put together, but what it is, in fact, is it's a law. He talks about it, but he just doesn't say it. Maybe I'm not sure why he doesn't, but it's the power of the word because. And if you think about it, if I ask you a question, I'd like you to do something. May I use the photocopier? And I come to you. Maybe I'll let you, maybe I won't. If I say this, excuse me, may I use the photocopier because I need to make copies? That's a weak because, but they use the word because. Or if I say, excuse me, may I use the photocopier because I'm in a rush? That's a strong positive thing. There's a reason for it. Cialdini found that when you add the word because, okay, 60% of, well, when there was no use, only 60% of people comply. Now wait your turn. But when you use the word because, 93 to 94% of the people said yes, because I used because I gave them a reason, I gave them a purpose to hang their hat on and say, oh, okay. And people do this for a lot of reasons. Okay, they want to feel that they're not being rude, they're being compliant, they're helpful. So if you're going to use the word because, use specific, highlight the benefits. Okay, avoid manipulation, but put in writing if possible. All these tricks and techniques and strategies work. Okay, there's lots of other laws that we file for influence, but if you're going to ask me which book, and I can give you just one book that I would recommend, and again, if I had $1 for every time I recommended or gave a copy, I'd be rich. The one book that I highly recommend you'd buy and read is by Dr. Robert Cialdini, most recent version of Influence, The Power of Persuasion. So if this was helpful to you, if you liked what you talked about, please like, subscribe, follow. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about another topic. Until then, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good night.